Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Willow Creek. So this video is going to be a part 2 of the video that I posted a couple days ago of just a smorgasbord of different canning projects and getting some things done around the house and in the garden. So yesterday, whenever I was finishing the salsa, waiting for my husband to come home with the last ingredients that I needed, if you watched the previous video, he was super excited and I was going to finish some canning projects, but I didn't get to it. He came home and he was like, they dug the hole for our basement at our new property, which is 45 minutes away. So we all loaded up and went down there and got some videos and took pictures and just got to see them starting the house, which was super exciting. So before we get started on this video, I will insert some clips of that for you guys to see what it's looking like at the new property. It's super exciting. My husband and I, we've been together 7 years and we've been dreaming of building a house ever since then. And it's just all finally coming true and happening. So it feels surreal. I don't know. It's a really big accomplishment. So we're super proud of ourselves, but I will insert some of that footage so you guys can look at it because it's really, really cool to see. And then we are gonna start canning the corn relish that I had mentioned in the previous video. So I went ahead and got all of the corn prepped. In this specific recipe, it calls for 10 ears of corn, which is what I had exactly. So it'll be a little bit of a smaller batch, but that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and keep working on that and insert some footage for you guys to watch in the meantime, and I will meet you back when it's done.
So, not much to see yet, but in about a year, this will be our forever home, and we are just so incredibly excited. This is the start of the basement that they dug out for us. So, like I said, we came over on this day to see it. Here's just kind of a quick overview of the property. And then I decided that I am just going to reuse all of my grow bag dirt and throw them in my new garden rows. So I don't want to cut my time short this growing season trying to get everything accomplished. So I am unfortunately taking down my garden here in town. I have a very small container only garden, and I am just going to get all of the plants out, repurpose all of the dirt, wash the grow bags, and reuse it over here. Now, I could extend my growing season. I know I could, but we just have so many things going on that I really want to get all of this finished so that come next spring, I can plant and grow things here with you all. So this is what I'm doing, just getting everything put back on the rows from what I've taken down so far and getting it repurposed. And then here is just the compost pile that I've started. This is me dumping all of the rabbit compost that I save each week to take over here to the new property. And then these are just some really pretty brown-eyed Susans that outline our entire perimeter that I thought were really pretty and wanted to share with you all.
Okay, so I got all the corn off the cob and it was 10 ears exactly. So that is just in this pot. And then this recipe calls for 2 cups of green peppers and 2 cups of red peppers. Now I only have green peppers. I just went and grabbed these out of the garden. So you can use whatever color you have. If you don't have red, it's not a big deal, but we will go ahead and get these chopped up and then see how much that gets us with these 3 of them. We are going to process this, so they will get a little bit mushier. So if the chops are a little bit thicker, it's not a big deal. Okay, so the first 2 cups going in. 2 more cups. And then you will also need 3/4 cup of onion. And give that a good mix. 4 cups of vinegar. Here's the first 2. It says to use apple cider vinegar, but I am using regular vinegar because I do not like apple cider vinegar. So there's those. 2 cups of sugar. And 1/2 cup of water. Okay, so then the recipe calls for mustard and allspice. Now, the first time that I made this, I added those things and I didn't think it tasted that good. So if you want to add the mustard and allspice, go for it. The recipe also calls for finely diced celery. I don't have any celery on hand and I didn't add that the first time and we preferred it without it. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit of garlic and pepper and I'm going to let this cook on like a medium and just kind of allow the sugar and things to melt. I'm not canning this right away because I have stuff in here that's processing, and my bigger burner in the back is broken, so this tiny burner isn't big enough to bring everything up to temperature to allow me to can these as well. So I'll just let it sit on the stove for just a little bit, and then whenever this stuff is done, we will get this jarred up. But I'm going to add just a little bit of garlic and then some pepper. If you've never made corn relish before, it's super easy and it's so versatile. It goes with absolutely freaking everything. It's just a really easy side to have, and you can do it like, you can serve it on tacos, you can serve it on the side of tacos, you can make different dips and things with this, and it's really, really good. It's very easy to make for new canners too, so if you've never canned or you want to get into canning, this would be a really good recipe for you to start with. Okay, so this is something that I can be working on while the rest of that stuff is either processing or cooking. So I buy big packages of chicken. Usually I do not buy them with like the bones in, but I am going to go ahead and get the skin off of these chicken thighs and get the bones out, and then I'm going to get them cut up for meal prep. So I think what I'm going to do this week, usually we do, and I'm not a professional at getting stuff out or cutting these up, so please don't judge me, but usually what I try to do if I'm doing like just a plain chicken based, you know, meal prep, I'll just cut this up and then I'll do like some rice and vegetables, and usually I buy the chicken tenders, but it's just so expensive to buy the cut chicken tenders that I was like, I really don't want to run back to the store and pay that, so I'm just going to utilize what I have. It's not going to be perfect, like I said, there's probably still some stuff on there, but I might end up saving some of this for broth later. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get as much of the skin off as I can, get some of these cut up like so, and I'm going to throw them in this bag, and I'm going to start letting them marinate so that I can use them for tomorrow. Yeah, usually I buy all of this already done for me, but I'm just kind of tired of spending money on chicken that's just pre-cut. I don't know. I just feel like I can do it myself. It'll be cheaper. Like this whole pack was $9, and if I went to buy pre-cut chicken tenders, it would be $11 for a pack that's not even half this size. So definitely makes more sense for me to just do it myself. And these have been sitting in my freezer for a little bit now, so they definitely need used up and something done with them. I went ahead and got all of this chicken prepped, and like I said, it's just for meal prep, so it doesn't have to be perfectly cut or anything like that. It was a struggle getting it off the bones, so next time I'm gonna do some research on how to better cut like the bones out of the chicken thighs so it's not so much of a struggle, but I got it done. That's all that matters. And then all of these skins and bones and things I'm just throwing in a freezer bag. I will label stock on this, and then the next time that I go to make broth, I will use it. So that's just a good way to kind of maximize things if you don't want to be wasteful, or you know, you want a second product, because I mean, you know, anything that you pay for, if you can get a second product out of it later, I mean, that's a win for you. So that's what I try to do. I try to maximize the products that I get from the money that I'm spending. So here is this, and I will label it. And I will just add to it too. Like if I have more chicken or veggies or whatever, I can just add to this bag. I'm gonna set that over there to get it out in the freezer. And then this bag, we are going to go ahead and put some seasonings in and let it marinate overnight for meal prep throughout the week. So I'm just gonna hit it with a splash of olive oil. And there's my timer for my another canning project. That is the fiery salsa that I am finishing up processing because my husband decided to take me to the new property last night. So getting that done and accomplished. Okay, so got some olive oil in here. I'm gonna hit it with some garlic salt. And then I'm also gonna do some lemon pepper. My husband loves lemon pepper chicken, so. And I think I am going to make some chickpeas to go with mine, so I probably won't have as much chicken in my meal prep. So most of this will probably be for him. So he really likes lemon pepper, and that's what he's getting this week. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and give all of this a really good mix, and then we will get it in the refrigerator. Ta-da! Let's get moved on to the next thing, which is the corn relish. So like I said, I didn't cook it or like boil it or anything. It's not super, super, super hot. And I went ahead and dumped out the water from the salsa. So it's about room temperature. The jars are about room temperature. So we will just bring everything up to temperature together. I'm gonna start ladling this in, and I'm going to do it in the smaller jars, a couple of them anyway, because I feel like the pints is kind of a lot to keep in the refrigerator at one time. So I'm gonna get a couple of these smaller jars done first, and then whatever I have left, I will fill up some pint jars with. And we need to leave 1/4 of an inch of head space. So I'm gonna get some of the brine in here. Then I'm just gonna take my spoon and just kind of run it around there, get some bubbles out. Go ahead and get the rim wiped off really good. Beautiful. So one jar down, get that in the canner, and then I'm just gonna start filling up the rest of these and repeating that same process. I love these blue jars. I don't know where I got. I just have one little blue jar, but I love it. It is so pretty. Got the corn relish in the water to water bath and process. Don't forget to leave 1 inch to 1.5 inches of water above your jars. Once this comes to a rolling boil, these are gonna process for 15 minutes. I'll go ahead and get them out of the canner. And then I was gonna move on to pressure canning some deer burger to use for dog food. If you watched my last video, my husband got a buck last year, and it's just not our favorite. We prefer the doe over the buck, so it's just taking up space in my freezer. I don't really wanna waste it, so I'm gonna turn it into something that my dogs will enjoy. But it is looking like it's gonna rain outside. So I think I'm gonna postpone that for just a short and go out to the garden once these are done so that I can get some things done out there before it rains. So that's next on the agenda. We'll get these out of the canner whenever they're done, and then we will head outside. Made it out to my garden. So it is looking a little bit different out here. I have been taking it down slowly as I have gotten time to do so. So I mentioned in a previous video that I had posted that my gardening season this year is unfortunately going to be cut short because we just have too much going on with the new house, and I want to plant at the new property, and I don't want to like cut my time short trying to extend my growing season at this property. So as sad as it is, I've just been kind of dismantling it as I go. All of the paneling and things that you see around here, this is all going to be moved to my new garden. So I've been getting plants and things out of here as I go, and then I've been taking the grow bags that I have here, and I've been dumping the soil on my rows at the new property. And I will insert some footage of me doing that so you guys can see how I'm reusing them. But for the time being, we are going to come out here and harvest a bunch of things, even things that probably like aren't ripe. Like there's a couple of big tomatoes that I have on my plant still that are green, but I know if I take them inside, they will ripen. I could do like a green tomato canning recipe of some sort. I've never tried that, so maybe we'll do that together, but if not, they'll just ripen on my table. So I'm going to go through and just start harvesting, start getting some more plants out of here, start making a pile of all of the grow bags and all of the dirt so that I can take it down to the new property. So yeah, like I said, as sad as it is, and it breaks my heart to do it, it has to be done so that we can grow and plant together come next spring at the new property. So I'm going to get started on that, and we will see what I can get done before it decides to rain on me. Thankfully though, it is gloomy out and it's a really nice day to be out here, so I'm excited to get some stuff done.
So on this particular day, I just brought a big basket and some scissors out with me. I knew we were going to have quite a bit of things to put in the basket, so I made sure I had one big enough to get the job done for us on this particular day. Now, this tomato variety is one of my favorites that I grew this year. It is called a Tigerella tomato, and I got these seeds from MI Gardener, and it has just blown my expectations out of the water. It has produced so good for me, and the flavor is absolutely amazing. Whenever the tomatoes ripen, they are also beautiful. So I would highly recommend giving this variety a try if you have never tried it before, because it is really, really good. And the clusters themselves are very large, but the tomatoes themselves are not very big. They get about double the size of a regular cherry tomato. So the flavors are very compact and they're super easy to harvest and grow.
So I'm going to go ahead and take all the clips off. And I'm going to double check all of the branches that I cut off and just see if there are some that might be big enough to turn red inside. Like these ones, I know that they're not done, but they might be big enough to produce some color later on, so I'll just go ahead and keep them. But then I have a compost pile going over there, and I'll get all of the tomato branches and things thrown over to the side. Oh, I busted one. Hate that. Okay, I had to go grab some gloves because these are starting to burn my hands. So, got some gloves on. Okay, so the next plant is this yellow variety. I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's just a yellow tomato of some sort. So I'm going to go ahead and pick all of the tomatoes off of it that are blushing, and the ones that are green that I think will turn, I'll get them inside as well, and then we are going to get this plant out of here. And something I've heard with your green tomatoes, as long as they're not fuzzy on the outside, I've heard that they will change whenever you bring them indoors. That's always been true for me. So I just feel the outsides of them. If they're super smooth, then most likely they will eventually ripen for you inside. Okay, so I do still have some things in the basket that we will come back and harvest, but I don't want the basil to wilt in the amount of time it takes me to do more work out here. So there's basil in this basket and then some basil in this basket that we will come back and get in just a bit. And here is what our basket is looking like so far. So this next tomato plant is just a beefsteak variety, and it is going to go ahead and get out of here as well. There's quite a few decent sized tomatoes on here that I'm going to grab, and then it has nothing in the bag down below, so as soon as we cut this plant out, it will be done for the season. And this plant has actually done really good for me this year. It's been really healthy and produced really well. And I will link the, oh, fallen soldier. I will link the spray that I use on my tomato plants. It's a copper spray and it helps fight blight and things like that. And it's worked really good for me this year. I am just dropping tomatoes left and right. Can't forget these. Unrolled all the way over here. Let me tell you, it's no easy task to film in my garden area because everything is on a hill. So it's very difficult back here. This one, that one's pretty big actually. Pretty impressive. Let's grab the rest of these. Okay, and then the rest of the itty bitties I'll just leave on there to be composted.
So the tomato plant that I'm working on now is a beefsteak hybrid variety. Now I did about half heirloom varieties and half hybrid varieties in my garden just to kind of make sure and ensure that I got a harvest. So usually in Iowa we are very humid and very wet, and my heirloom varieties are always the first to go. So I went ahead and planted about 8 beefsteak hybrid varieties, like I said, just to kind of ensure that my tomato plants did really good. But to my surprise this year, we actually did not get a lot of rain like we usually do, and the weather was really conducive. So that helped my plants a lot. As you can see here, these next 3 tomatoes have basically no disease on them whatsoever. I also tried for the first time this year a copper fungal spray that helps with blight and septoria leaf spot and those types of things. And I think that that also really, really helped my tomato plants thrive, because usually at this point in the year, all of my plants are incredibly diseased and I'm having to take them out of my garden much sooner to prevent the spread of disease to my other plants. Now, the next 2 tomatoes that are coming up are very interesting. I believe they are a pink brandywine tomato. My husband was gifted a huge pink tomato from a farmer. My husband land surveys for a living last year, and I kept the seeds, and then they took off this year. So I believe that's what it's called. They're just a fuchsia pink tomato, but they have done incredibly well for me also. And I definitely went ahead and saved more seeds, and I will be growing them again next year.
Got that last bag done on this row, so that's super helpful. Everything's cleaned up. I will grab all of the rest of the basil in the bags as soon as we harvest some of these peppers. So I am going to go ahead and grab all of the serranos that are on this plant, even the ones that aren't fully ripe. I'm going to go ahead and grab them. Aren't those pretty? And I'm going to get some hot sauce made up. I'm going to get some hot sauce with my serranos made up because I still have a couple red ones inside. And then this plant here is a habanero plant, and I have tons and tons of habaneros inside. I was not expecting to get as many habaneros from just this one plant as I have, but it has produced a lot. So we will definitely be making a lot of hot sauce with it. I have a fermented mango habanero pineapple hot sauce processing in the house. I've had it fermenting for probably 2 weeks now. So I'm excited to see what that turns out like. I made a fermented peach hot sauce the other day, and I fermented it for 6 weeks, and it's probably one of the best things I've ever made. So if this one's anything like my other one, I am going to be super excited to have it in my fridge also. So I'm going to go ahead and get these picked out of here, and then I will get the steaks and stuff out of the bags and get these ones out of the way, and they are done for the season. Some of these are pretty tiny, but I'm going to go ahead and grab them anyway. And some of the ones that are just starting to turn orange, I'm going to pick on the habaneros because they do ripen inside really well. And I have never seen so many peppers on a plant. I don't know how well you can see in here, but I mean, it is just loaded, just absolutely loaded with habaneros. So I may have misspoke. I'm going to go ahead and leave this one up because there is several on here, but the serrano pepper plant I'm going to get out of the bag. And I've already saved a ton of snapdragon seeds, but if you would like to save your snapdragons for next year, I'll show you really quick what you're looking for. So these pods become like incredibly dried out on the snapdragon stem. And basically whenever you open these, they contain all of your snapdragon seeds. So if you start to notice these on your snapdragon flowers, be sure to save the seeds so you can have them for next year. Like I said, I don't need them at the time, but that is what you're looking for if you would like to plant some for next season. And then lastly, while I'm out here, I'm going to go ahead and grab some of these peppercini peppers. I have pickled so many of these this year, and they are fantastic. If you've never tried a Mississippi pot roast, this is one of the main flavor components in it is the pepperoncinis, and it is absolutely delicious. Okay, so I think that's it for this one, and I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the ground too. It does have a couple of new flowers on it, but none of these are going to have time to produce anything. So it looks like some of my basil is going to seed, and that's okay. I'm just going to leave the ones that are starting to produce flowers and harvest all the rest of them. And then like this one over here is also starting to bud. So I will probably just go ahead and leave the rest of this in here. I didn't get all of it, but I have so much basil already for the year. Don't mind my big pile of all the stuff I need to get out of my yard. My husband loves when I do this. So yeah, all of this will go to seed, and I'll just collect it and we'll save it for next year. I think this is Italian basil, but it is also going to seed. So I'll just grab a bunch of the Genovese basil that's in this bag, and then I probably will not harvest the basil again, so whatever grows and produces seed I'll just save, because at this point I have tons and tons and tons of basil. Okay, so I made it back inside. Don't mind everything on my table. I'm in the process of painting my dining room and my kitchen, so everything's kind of all over the place, but that's okay. I am gonna go ahead and get the tomatoes that we just got out of the garden and all those peppers laid out on this towel, and then I will get the basil washed off really good, and we will get that in the dehydrator. So next thing I'm going to do, I went ahead and washed all this basil off, and I am going to get it on the dehydrator. So now whenever I start running this, it's not going to be very pleasant for you guys to listen to this in the background. So a couple more things I'm going to get done this evening are making dinner. I think I'm gonna make some cookies. I'm not entirely sure, but I will just take you along for the ride and show you what the rest of my evening entails. I don't have a fancy dehydrator or anything. This was a free dehydrator that I got from my neighbor. So you definitely don't need anything fancy. However, I did ask for a new dehydrator from my husband for our anniversary, which is next weekend. So we'll see if I get that. If I do, I will make sure to share it with you guys. Just gonna go through here and pick out all of these stems. If they're small and like more tender, I probably wouldn't worry about it, but these are pretty thick.
Okay, so after getting the basil and the dehydrator, I just went ahead and pulled out some chicken fajitas that I had been letting de-thaw. My husband and I are really big into meal prepping and just making quick dinners, freezing them so that I always have things on hand so I don't have to spend a lot of time in the kitchen on busy days like this, especially. So I did get to the cookies as well. I will do a full tutorial video on this because this is my recipe. I created this myself, and these are the best cookies that I have ever had. I will leave a short clip in my shorts on my channel and the full recipe in the description for you guys if you would like to try them in the meantime. And then look out for a full tutorial on this recipe in the future. And then here I am grabbing all of this beautiful homegrown dehydrated basil and getting it out of the dehydrator. I ended up getting basically a full pint because I had let this basil get so big. So I'm super thankful to have it. Basil is one of my favorite herbs, and I'm really hoping we can get a similar harvest for next year. So this will be the end of this video, you guys. I just wanted to say thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time, and I hope you guys all have an amazing rest of your week.